The Great NPM Garbage Patch. I have no idea what this is going to be, but I am so curious. Let's dive in together. In April of this year, the Phylum research team revealed the proliferation of spam packages in NPM associated with the T protocol, a decentralized initiative that promises to compensate software devs in cryptocurrency for their open source contributions. Okay, I did not think I was about to get into a crypto company ruining the NPM ecosystem with garbage. I am so excited now. Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy. Last month, we published our quarterly research report, which estimated that approximately 1 of every 4 packages published to NPM in Q2 were associated with T, virtually all of which had no redeeming quality, aside from gaming the protocol to inflate a software dev's contribution artificially. Let's take a deeper look. T.xyz, I've vaguely heard about this. This is an attempt to pay open source maintainers with crypto. I have the real spicy take that there isn't really a way to enforce open source contribution. Like, if you make it so people have to pay, it no longer is open source by definition. And I think that's okay. There should be more effort into allowing for devs that are doing awesome open source things to make money off of their work. And we need to, as a culture, shift towards bullying businesses that aren't paying the open source maintainers building the stuff they rely on into paying them accordingly. The lack of that is a massive problem. The fact that giant businesses are built on the backs of open source stuff and no money goes back to them is a problem. But it's our nature as engineers to try and solve that with more engineering. You can't build your way out of this problem, though. The way open source works, and the thing that makes it so good, is that the code is given out with no expectation of return. The expectation should not be engineered into the code. It should come from a culture outside of it. We should make people who work at these companies, the leadership making the decisions at these companies, and the individual engineers who are working on things on top of these open source things at these businesses all feel terrible for not paying the open source maintainers they rely on. Sadly, that's not the reality of what we have now. And many open source maintainers building the things that we rely on every day on the web and in compute as a whole are not being contributed to properly. But I promise you, I am 1000% certain that the solution is not some bullshit fucking cryptocurrency. And as much as I love that this dev is the creator of Homebrew, and as much as he has had a crazy history, remember the famous story of him not getting hired at Google? Yeah, I don't want to talk shit on the individual dev because he's made things I rely on every day. But this is a really brutal attempt at solving a culture problem with not just any code, but with Web3 code. So I'm already very skeptical going in, but let's see how this article convinces me that T isn't just weird, but is actually a problem. With new research from a fresh perspective, our team can now report that the volume of these packages is likely larger than our initial estimates. Their initial estimates were that it was 1/4 of new packages, and it might be worse. Is this the Hacktoberfest of NPM, but instead of a t-shirt, it's crypto? Oof. Like the island of discarded plastic twice the size of Texas that floats around in the North Pacific Ocean, NPM has accrued an astonishing amount of spam packages over the past 6 months. Join us as we take a fresh look at the pollution in this open source ecosystem. Apparently they had a previous blog about it. Feel free to use the links in the description if you want to read that. We're just reading this one here. As detailed in our previous post, the T protocol perversely incentivizes software developers to exaggerate their contribution to open source development. Using a modified page rank called a T rank, software devs are rewarded based on their proof of contribution. As the early SEO spammers figured out how to gain page ranks for their benefits, history is repeating itself, and a few devs have spammed open source repositories with absurd amounts of worthless packages. Is this what that dude was doing for the guy who claimed he was adding Node 0.4 support, but ended up installing 15 of his own dependencies on a package that previously had none? I know it's not actually that because the pennies you would make off it is jack shit, but it's a funny thought. NPM, the largest open source ecosystem, has suffered the worst from this pollution from various actors. Some of the hallmarks of these spam packages are gibberish package names with random combinations of words from a list, implausible lists of dependent packages, a dubious number of dependent packages, and in the morass of transitive dependencies, the ubiquitous t.yaml file that ultimately identifies the code owner. That's the key. If you see a t.yaml in a package, at this point, I'm willing to say if you see a t.yaml, don't trust the package. When Phylum first started investigating the situation in February, we were continually amazed at the sheer volume of packages that could be published, clearly due to automation. So we turned our attention to trying to understand the full scope of the spam problem. Shout out to Phylum for writing this, by the way. I should figure out what they do so I show them properly. Oh, they're a software supply chain security company. So they're like CrowdStrike, but solving the problem where it actually lives, where the software is coming from. Good shit. Worth checking out, and maybe even going to their Black Hat event. They're not paying me to do this. They have no idea I'm making this video, but this investigation is dope, and I wanted to shout them out for that reason. For a baseline, at the start of 2024, the total number of packages ingested into Phylum daily from NPM was around 1,500 each business day, and about half that on weekends. So that's the number of new packages being ingested every day. Starting in February of 2024, Phylum began to notice a steady increase in NPM package publications from a few thousand to tens of thousands. The high watermark of this increase occurred on the 8th of April 2024, with over 48,000 packages published to NPM. That's insane. On one day, 48,000 publishes were packaged, but before it was only 1,500 a day. Insane. This explosion of packages led us to our first discovery of the perverse incentives of the T protocol. Last month, in preparation for our quarterly report, we took a random sample from all NPM packages published in quarter 2, and we manually triaged around 1,600 of them. If a package contained markers of the T protocol being abused, as we noted above, we marked it as spam. With these, we found a 95% confidence interval for the estimate of the percentage of spam packages in NPM in quarter 2 to be between 21% and 25%, or in other words, over 500,000 spam packages. So if we really want to be able to contribute to open source, all we have to do is make up a shitty crypto. Good to know. Think about how much time DigitalOcean and GitHub could have saved if instead of giving us crappy t-shirts, they gave us a crappy crypto worth nothing. This is going to be painful. Upon further reflection, we considered that many NPM projects have nightly builds or alpha, beta, and canary versions. So these legitimate packages that enjoy a robust development cycle might dilute the size of the true impact of spam. What if we restricted our search to new packages that have never been seen before on NPM? We widened our search in our NPM data back to February, where we saw the first T protocol spam, and we removed all the packages that had at least one version published prior. That left us with over 890,000 new, never-before-seen packages from February to now. From this set, they took a random sample of 900 and applied the same criteria, and of that, 95% confidence interval showed 68 to 75% of new packages were from this spam. So between 613,000 and 670,000 spam packages from February to now for this shit crypto. The guy who made Homebrew is committing terrorism against NPM right now. Do not flame him. If I see y'all flaming this dude, I'm going to be very mad at y'all. Cool. I'm mincing so many words right now. I want to be so much ruder than I'm being. I'm trying my best to be kind and assume best intent, but I can't right now. I have to assume that this is, like, don't assume malice when you can assume stupidity. I can assume malicious stupidity here. This is so dumb. Holy shit. Yeah, 5 of every 7 packages published over the past 6 months are T-spam. So what's the threat here? Followers of this blog know that most of our content focuses on exposing active malicious attacks against open source software devs. In the spirit of full disclosure, Phylum has yet to discover evidence that these packages contain or lead to the usual kind of malice that we regularly report. Good call out. There's no known security issue here yet. It's just nonsense being published. But as a general observation, this pollution is a kind of malice, and there are several dangerous avenues that this could turn into. Autumn, you're concerned here about this using up all good NPM names? I don't have this concern because that's a problem already. There's an account that has like hundreds of packages reserved because he just registered every one word he could think of when NPM started and just sits on them. Here it is. This is the one I was thinking of. Cool. He got nuked. That's good to see. See, you would just squat like view sharp CLI, this.view, view.this, view loader, Babel, view plugin DND, just like squatted fucking every name he thought might ever be valuable to somebody. Yeah, they had mitosis and create mitosis. So Builder.io was unable to use it, which is insane. So NPM already has a squatting problem, regardless of the spam shit. Yeah, thankfully they got terminated because of the massive push that resulted. Also, the discussion or the NPM feedback repo has since been archived, which is hilarious. So regardless, the point I'm trying to make is that squatting has been a problem for a long time now, not a new issue. As the article says, there is no safety risk immediately here. We have not seen any malware being published through these spam packages. But as a general observation, this pollution is a kind of malice, and there are several dangerous avenues that this could turn into. Unlike malicious typo squatting campaigns, in which a user unsuspectingly might accidentally install Reacts instead of React, It's not at all likely that a dev would make the same mistake with, for example, Quasar Fig OE1T. However, a package like Web3 Cover is more plausible, where the developer would also get the 170 dependencies along with the complete transitive dependency tree for each of those. Insane. Next, because the AI hype train is at full steam, we must point out the obvious. AI models that are trained on these packages will almost certainly skew the outputs in unintended directions. These packages are ultimately garbage, and the mantra of garbage in, garbage out holds true. Finally, these large-scale spam campaigns hinder the open source package registry's ability to reason through the safety of all packages in an ecosystem, despite the fact that no reasonable person would ever endeavor to install one of these spam packages. This is speaking from their experience, where it's harder to keep track of what's going on in the NPM ecosystem and find things if 95% of what they're scanning through is nonsense. They raise the noise floor and create an environment in which an adversary could surreptitiously hide actual maliciousness. Yep. By making there be so much noise, finding actual abuse is much harder. Thinking like the adversary. Let's start with taking a look at the following package, sour noise. The NPM website lists a single dependency on Axios. Cool, so sour noise depends on Axios. There's not a lot happening here. The package does not contain code, and according to NPM, the only dependency is the extremely popular Axios package. Is this package safe to install? Well, package.json tells a different story. Dependency Axios isn't Axios. It's this random tarball reference to another package of theirs in order to get that to be installed, which almost certainly then has T. That's what? What? Why do they report that wrong? Why does NPM say that it depends on Axios when it's depending on a random URL? That's a massive failure on the NPM site's side. We're fucked. It's over. Yeah, as Autumn just said, fuck, we're done. NPM is that. I'm getting so much more stress as I keep reading this. Holy shit. Yeah, contrary to what NPM states, the package actually depends on one of our aforementioned spam packages. This is a byproduct of how NPM handles and displays dependencies to users on the site. There's no clear linkage to this spam package and Axios, which is listing sour noise as a dependent. That's actually really funny. So Axios says sour noise is a dependent. If we were to go to Axios' GitHub, it says sour noise depends on it, even though it doesn't. It depends on this. The fuck? To say that you'd never install one of these spam packages is to ignore the complexity of the supply chain. Transitive dependencies can pull in packages that the developer neither wants nor expects to receive. Yeah, that's a massive issue. This NPM needs to fix fucking ASAP. Holy shit. Open source software ecosystem pollution is a problem for everyone. The T Protocol project is taking steps to remediate this problem. It would be unfair to legitimate participants in the T Protocol to have their remuneration reduced because others are spamming and scamming the system. Also, NPM's begun to take down some of these spammers, but the takedown rate does not match the new publication rate. And this problem is not limited to NPM alone. For example, this user published nearly 1,800 spam packages on Ruby Gems in late February and early March 2024. Would you consider that Ruby Gems is probably running Ruby, and that means it's probably single-threaded? This probably took the Ruby Gems project multiple hours to deal with. That was a joke about Ruby being slow. I think it's tasteful. Anyways, Phylum's actively researching this area and will continue to seek new ways to detect the spam as these actors adapt their tactics. This is one of the best research blogs I've read. If I had security issues, I would be hitting up Phylum immediately. This was great. Fantastic read. If you want to check out their other blog posts and see their coverage of this going forward, check out the link in the description. I'm feeling a large sense of existential dread right now. Let me know if you feel similarly in the comments. And until next time, don't install spam packages.